Hi, I'm Joe Pippins, the inventor and founder of the Fishing Caddy, the all-in-one fishing system. I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and my childhood and where I come from. Some of the stories that took place and where they took place, tragedies, triumphs. So let's take a look at that. Growing up in the inner city has a lot of challenges. Between the drug violence, drug activity, and just all around poverty, it was an extremely tough situation to thrive in, which to most people would be a disadvantage. But to me, it meant that I had to work harder than ever to ensure that I was going to be successful one day, which led me to my first entrepreneur enterprise, selling candy out of my windows while I was being grounded. As a kid, I had a vivid mind and was always active, and little did I know it was going to lead to me being an entrepreneur for life. As I came into middle school here, they eliminated the free lunch program. So a lot of the poor kids like myself didn't have the nourishment or the money to buy lunch. So I would make my lunch out of the scraps of my peers. I knew one kid didn't like milk, so every day his parents paid for his lunch, I would request his milk. I would get a roll from this kid and slowly but surely piece together a meal of the scraps of the other kids that were in the lunchroom. As time went on, I became the butt of jokes, and as you know, growing up as a kid, nobody likes to get teased. Was teased quite a bit about being poor, so poor that I couldn't even afford a meal. So what I ended up doing was talking to the lunch lady, and instead of stealing my lunch every day, grabbing it and darting off, which she allowed to happen for a while, I made a deal with her. And my deal was, as an artist, a very gifted artist, that I would draw paintings and drawings and litter them, put them around the entire lunchroom if she would give me free lunch. So after a couple days of pondering that, she came back to me and was inspired by my proposal and accepted it. And no longer did I have to get scraps from other guys and my other friends. I was able to get free lunch and get the nourishment I need to help me get a better education. I noticed that they were selling these Jolly Ranchers, small ones, for 5 cents. And I knew that I could take those 5 cents Jolly Ranchers and sell them for a quarter. So I did a market test, took those to school the next day, and sold out right away. So as I began that journey, I started to take notes on which ones were selling well and which ones weren't. Another thing as an entrepreneur is understanding that while you may be in poverty, there are resources, and this was one of mine to solve my problem, which is getting the school gear that I wanted to get, the Nikes, the clothes, the video games, the candy. They always say you're not supposed to get high on your own supply. I didn't follow that rule. So as I began selling my candy, it became very successful, making up to $30 a day, which is a lot of money for a 7th grader. Had a lot of my friends ask me, "Hey Joe, what are you doing with this money? How much are you making?" So my friends wanted to join in on that. So I built a team around me that began selling candy as well on the different sides of the school. And we all split up, and I took a large share of the profits and gave them their percentages. Being poor, you can use it as an advantage to grow you, to empower you, to help you to get to the next level. One of the lowest points in my life is when I was homeless. I'd been kicked out by my grandmother, which left me with a really bad feeling. Didn't understand why that took place. And the simple misunderstanding ended up costing me a place to stay. And I remember sleeping from one friend's house to the next. Ultimately, their parents would get kind of tired of me being there and providing for me because I wasn't their child, and they would kick me out. And I remember the most defining moment was walking down the street one time, late at night, trying to figure out where I was going to lay my head next. And I remember at that moment, it kind of dawned on me that if I were to die right there, nobody would care. Nobody would miss me. And I remember going to one of my friend's house and just pleading with them and crying with them and handing them all my belongings I had on my body at the time, because that's all I had, and telling them to give that to my girlfriend and let her know that I cared about her. Let her know that I'm sorry and that I was going to end my life. After talking with my friend, he convinced me that it was a very poor decision, that things were going to get better. And based off of my history and my past, I didn't understand or see how that ever was going to happen. There wasn't anybody to step in and make things better. And the resources I did have at that time, looking back, I did have a few people, but it was very embarrassing for me to talk about the position I was in. I had a lot of pride. And over the years, over that time frame rather, my pride got beaten down pretty low and just didn't really know what to do next. So I remember thinking about my aunt, who had told me that if I ever need anything to call her, and I would call her multiple times and she would never answer her phone. and eventually getting a hold of her and telling her, hey, you told me that if I needed help, you were going to help me. You told me that if I needed a place to stay, you would give me a place to stay, and you failed me. And I told her what was going through my mind, about how I was afraid. I didn't know what to do. And I remember her finally coming to an agreement that she would co-sign an apartment if I was able to come up with the first and last month's rent, plus a little bit of padding. So I worked really hard at this local job I had at Burger King, saving up the money necessary to be able to get this down payment on this apartment. And that's where things started to get better. Little did I know something interesting was going to happen. I was about to be a dad, and I wasn't quite prepared for that. So I found out I was having my son, and instantly, deep down inside my stomach, I knew that I had to work extremely hard to make sure that he would not grow up the way that I did, that his environment would not leave him scarred and damaged and fearful, most importantly, of his future. So I began working extremely hard to make sure my son had the necessary items to grow up and be a healthy child. Took just about any job I needed to make sure I had ends meet, and took a lot of pride in becoming a father because I wanted my son to remember me. I wanted him to remember the sacrifices that I needed to make for him to grow up better than I did. And just telling you the story today kind of lets me know and reminds me that I've told my son even some of these things that I'm telling you today. But as a father, my family, my son, was most important to me, because prior to that, we didn't have a lot of men in our family that would take care of and look after and provide and lead and guide. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be the case with my son. Growing up as a passionate entrepreneur was a product, a safety device that I was creating. We had a friend of ours pass. Like a lot of teenagers, the number one cause of death for teenagers is car accidents. And that hit really close to home. We had a really close friend of ours pass in a car accident due to him not wearing his seatbelt. After hearing about that, being a natural problem solver, that was something I thought that really needed to be addressed. At the time, there wasn't really any way to encourage that usage. Matter of fact, kids don't like wearing seatbelts and didn't at the time. And one of the things I thought to myself was, what if we encouraged it or penalized them by not wearing their seatbelt? So the thing that I had thought of was a safety device that would not allow the radio to work unless their seatbelt was fastened. It's something that I was developing and working with. Talked to several investors, probably went over close to 100 different meetings. I met various people that really liked the idea. However, they did not follow through with it with the funding. So the project ended up stalling, and eventually I ended up abandoning my patent and kind of gave up on that dream. I thought to myself, well, this product must not be that good if these people don't see the vision and don't want to part ways with their money and join me on this opportunity, which I thought was a really big one. So one of the things I guess I would say, that disappointment really caused me to understand that not everyone's going to be able to see your vision, understand where you're coming from, or stay passionate about it. So I ended up finding out about that this technology was put in an automobile that I had purchased just as of like a couple years ago. Looked it up online. The car that I bought had some technology in it, and looked it up online and saw the patent that this company had put together. And I was the last prior art for this technology. And when I found that out, I was just devastated. It was shocking. Just totally defeated. About 2 weeks, I didn't really eat much, couldn't sleep well, and just really thought to myself how I failed. I gave up on it too soon. And I believed that because other people did not invest in me, that it was not a good product. And I was so wrong. So this failure was reminded to me every day I drove this vehicle while I was developing the Fishing Caddy. And that's actually what helped me to stay consistent and push forward when I started to have a lot of people online, critics, people that, would give me just really be mean and just not very supportive. Matter of fact, anything that has to do with traditional fishing, they love that. And anything that challenged that modern wise or up to date, they really just made a mockery of it. A lot of the stuff they were saying kind of got to me, but in the back of my mind, I realized, I was like, hey, this is the same thing I've been through before, and I continued to press forward. And that disappointment helped me understand that there's a difference between a critic and a consumer. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get these people confused. We're not sure which one's which. Well, I can tell you how I determine what a critic was. A critic is someone who offers nothing but negative feedback. They're not offering you any advice that you can use to make yourself better or make your product better. As a matter of fact, these are people who hate innovation. They hate growth. They want to stick to the traditional things like fishing. It's very traditional. And over the last like 40 years, there hasn't been a whole lot of things that have made fishing more up to date. People are still fishing the way that Grandpa taught them, even though there's all this technology to make this process easier, simpler, more convenient, like my product, the Fishing Caddy. Now, a consumer is someone who's going to offer you positive enforcement. Hey, try this out, add this on there. They're going to offer you ways to make your product better and even maybe ways to make yourself better. So one of the gifts I would say, one of the parting words of wisdom I would give other entrepreneurs and inventors or business owners is to separate the critics from the consumers. Don't expect people to see your vision and understand what's going on in your mind, or better yet, don't even expect anyone to encourage you, because you got to have it inside of yourself. You got to understand that failure is just part of the process. You're gonna fail, and it's what you do with that failure. How I adjusted to that failure is I weeded out the bad and found those nuggets and grew my product, which led to me where I'm today. It's been exciting, most amazing journey I could probably ever imagine. I've never spent this much time on anything before in my life, and I'm really proud of the final result of the new Fishing Caddy 2.0. If you want to get a hold of me or want to get more information about the Fishing Caddy, you can go on thefishingcaddy.com, where you'll find out all the information about the Fishing Caddy, videos and whatnot. And if you want to get a hold of me personally, my email address that you'll want to contact me is joe@thefishingcaddy.com. I thank you so much for viewing this video. It was important for me to tell others, entrepreneurs, and also tell the possible backers on Kickstarter a little bit about myself and how I got to where I'm at, and the passion and drive and desire that I have to share this product with you. I know you're gonna love it. It's one of the best things that could have happened to me, this process of becoming an entrepreneur, and I encourage you guys to press on, stay encouraged, and stick with it, and never give up on your dreams. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.